Hi, I'm Holly and I'm from Scotland, and I'd like to tell you a story that happened over the last 12 years of my life. I was brought up in a church in Scotland that I attended since I was 2 with my family. And as I got older, towards the age of 10 and 11, I had the decision of whether going to church was something that I still wanted to do. My parents gave me that option. And the church that I had been going along to, there wasn't really much youth work or children's work going on at the time. So I was swaying more towards the idea of not going anymore. But that changed when a Youth for Christ worker came on a year out. They came from Canada to Scotland to the church that I was in. And when the youth worker came, a lot more started to happen for the youth in the church and for the older children. I was 11 at the time, so I wasn't able to be involved in any of the programs that were being run by the youth worker, but that didn't stop them noticing me and taking an interest in my life. I would see them at church and we would catch up about what's going on during the week, and for me that was the first time that there was someone in the church, like a young adult who was a Christian and who there's just something different, and they took an interest in my life and cared about me. When the youth worker left to go back home, I was gutted, and it made me realise that they had something about their life that was completely different to mine. And I was at a stage there when my faith wasn't my own, and I went to church on a Sunday, but I had no relationship with God at all personally. And I had the realisation that was what that youth worker had that made her different. That was what made her life so different, and I wanted to know more about that. So I started to get involved with my local Youth for Christ and help out with some programs that they were running, and just it was great to have other YFC people who I could chat to more about questions I had related to faith. As I grew older and becoming a young adult, there was more and more distractions in life. Like I gave into peer pressure and I ended up getting involved with the wrong crowd, which led to drugs and alcohol and relationships I shouldn't have been involved in. And the whole time, looking back, I now realise that I had a void in my life that I was trying to fill. I hit rock bottom and realised that without all of these things, I still had that void in my life. And I was actually admitted to a psychiatric unit, and I was in there for 2 months, and during that time was when I realised that I needed that space in my life filled, but I wasn't quite sure what to fill it with. And over those years I lost touch with the Youth for Christ worker, and when I was in hospital I had a strong desire to get back in touch and to see if they would still have any interest in my life or have any advice or any help for me. And I remember the email that I sent to the girl, and I wasn't even sure if I'd get a reply because it had been so long since we'd spoken, and the reply was the nicest reply in the world. Having gotten in touch with my old youth worker, I realised that she now was married and had 3 children, and she invited me to come over and spend some time in Canada with her and her family. So I left Scotland not really sure what I was hoping for or searching for when I came over, but felt very strongly that that's where I should be and that would help me. When I arrived in Canada, I had the warmest welcome, and it was as if we'd only been apart for a couple of days, not like 10 years. And I instantly could see within the whole family that they had that thing that still made their lives different and still had that joy and that peace. And I got to a place where there was no other option that it could be Jesus that they had that made them different. And I would have thought, I've just said before, that I would have thought I was a Christian, and I thought that I had a relationship with God. I went along to church, I went to Bible study, like I ticked all the boxes. But I realise now that I didn't at all. I didn't have any intimate and personal relationship. So when I was in Canada, just through conversations with the girl and her family, I made that decision that that was what I wanted to do, and I gave my life back to God. And knowing now the intimacy and the personal relationship that you have, like that I have, and anyone can have with God, is just amazing, and it really does change everything. Heading back home to Scotland was quite a daunting prospect, as before I had left I'd been seeing a psychiatrist, and the original plan was when I got back we were going to look at a 3-month programme that the hospital was running, which the psychiatrist had wanted me to go along to. When I got back and met with my psychiatrist, they couldn't believe the change in me and the change in my mind frame and how positive and happy that I seemed, and he didn't know what on earth had gone on while I was in Canada. And after that, it was decided that going back into hospital wasn't the best option for me, and I had a strong desire to apply for university to do youth ministry. The impact that that youth worker had on me stretched over 10 years, and not only led to my coming to a realisation that I needed a personal faith with God, but led me to the point where that's now something that I want to see happen with other young people. So although that took 10 years, that youth worker was beside me the whole time and was praying for me and was still invested in me and still cared for me.